بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So inshallah today we're going to discuss briefly about إطناب and the reasons why we have إيجاز and إطناب. والإطناب وهو تعدية المعنى is to express the meaning, the concept, the idea بعبارة زائدة. The ibara is what? زائد, meaning the meaning is this much, but the words are this much. But the main key is what? مع الفائدة. There's a purpose behind of you having, or the speaker bringing the speech in such a way that it's longer than necessary. For example, Rabbi, oh my Lord, you make dua to Allah. Inni wahana al-azmu minni, my bones have become weak. Washta'ala al-ra'su shayba, and my hair has become white. Now this, all he was trying to say was kabirtu. But the wording is this much. Okay? It's called itnab. Why? Because it's fa'idah. Why? Because in dua, you want to express your weakness, your humility. So there's fa'idah in this. That's why it's called itnab. So the meaning is this much, but the words used is what? Much more, or relatively more. Okay? فَإِذَا لَمْ تَكُنْ فِي الزِّيَادَةِ فَائِدَةٍ. If there's no fa'idah, no benefit, no use, no purpose in this extra wording. Okay, you got the main meaning you have, and the wording is all, but this wording is just void of any benefit. You call it what? تَطْوِيلًا إِنْ كَانَتِ الزِّيَادَةُ غَيْرَ مُتَأَيَّنَةٍ. So now, what's happening here? This is how you have to understand text. This text gets a bit technical. What is it? What is in? What is in? Huh?
In shart.
It's a shart. What's a shart of? So سُمِّيَ تَطْوِيلًا إِنْ كَانَتِ الزِّيَادَةُ غَيْرَ مُؤَيَّنَةٍ. And what's حشو أطفا? What's it أطفا? Huh? تطويلا, very good. It's adfir. So it's سُمِّيَ تطويلا وحشوا, has two names. And when is it called تطويل? إن كانت الزيادة غير متأينة وحشوا إن كائن تأينت. So basically ibara is like this. فإذا لم تكن في الزيادة فائدة سُمِّيَ تطويلا إن كانت الزيادة غير متأينة وحشوا إن تأينت. So if you can pinpoint that this word is extra, or these words are extra, these words do not serve a fa'idah, then you call it tatweel. You call it what? Hashwa. And if you say, well, look, I can't pinpoint the wording, but you can tell is that there's extra wording in here, then you call it tatweel.
So tatweel is when it has a benefit to the...
No. Both don't have benefit. But if you know the exact wording which is extra, you call that tatweel. You call that hashwa. And if it's not, you can't pinpoint where the extra word is, but you know the extra, you call that tatweel. But it's a point here to remember that, like for example, the word ijaz was used previously. Now, tatweel and hashwa, somebody came up with this. It wasn't like the mutaqaddimun, when they were discussing this, they would say, well, if he itnab, or his tool. The actual wording of tatweel and hashwa being two separate words, it may not be something that everybody uses. You get what I'm saying? Is it even a fa'idah of calling it tatweel and hashwa? It's itnab. It's itnab without fa'idah, that's it.
So the differentiation is it really, is there any benefit of having it there?
Not too much. Okay? So for example, just so you understand, there are certain terminologies which you can't go against, that are fixed in stone. You can't call a fa'il an amil, because nahwa fa'il is called a fa'il. You get what I'm trying to say? But like for example now, somebody may call, for example, you might see a book where it says tatweel, and they may actually refer to hashwa, because tatweel and hashwa is not like set in stone. You get what I'm trying to say? So certain terminologies are not like universally accepted, or they weren't universally accepted. They weren't there from the first time. They developed as time went along, and everybody will not use the same terminology. You get what I'm trying to say? Okay. So give two examples. One example of tatweel and one example of hashwa. What's the example of tatweel? وَأَلْفَى قَوْلَهُ كَذِبًا وَمَيْنًا. Alfa, to find, wajada. كَذَلِكَ أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. We found our forefathers on the same very path. So alfa, to find somebody. So it says, وَأَلْفَى, he found her statement to be كَذِبًا وَمَيْنًا. What does mayna mean? كَذِبًا. What's extra in here? Or kadhib? It depends, exactly. So you can't determine in here which one is extra. One is extra, you don't need both of them. Okay? Now somebody may argue, is there fa'idah in this? There's no fa'idah because both mean the same thing. Somebody said there's a fa'idah because what? The poem So the mayna makes it end in noon. It's an argument. والحشر, for example, وأعلم علم اليوم والأمس قبله. I have knowledge of today's news and of tomorrow's news before today. So amsi, what does amsi mean? Amsi, yesterday. So yesterday before today, you don't need that in because amsi automatically means what? The day before today. There's no point of saying amsi, which is before, qablahu, which is before the yawm, before today.
Yeah, I was wondering why qablahu is put.
Exactly. So because qablahu is always coming before. Example, if you say ghadan ba'da al-yawm. What does ghadan mean? Tomorrow. So what's the point of having this? This word is hashwa. This word, we know for a fact that this word is extra. No need for this word. You follow? So you have tatweel and you have hashwa. Okay? Following? Right. So summarizing now. He's going to discuss itnab and tatweel in detail. But why would you want ijaz? There are many reasons. Forget this text, even like common sense. To memorize something, notes in class, you don't write a whole paragraph, you're writing small little notes. Because why? Note, text message. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope this text message reaches the best of health and iman. You don't write all that in it. You say, hey, right, I'm outside. You coming? Yeah. There, K. Because it's short, text message for brevity. So some of the dawa'i of ijaz in those times would be tafsirul hifz. If you got, for example, this book is not really ideal for memorizing, it's too long. If you have, for example, something very short, so you got one little text to remember. You know what I'm trying to say? Now this is quite long. So this is not exactly ideal. There's no point memorizing all this extra word. That's why you have mutun. We call it canonical books. Which is like very short, especially if you use poetry, because in those times, I guess culture's changed. So in those times, the culture was it's easy to remember things in poetry. Poetry is not in our culture. That common. Where do we use? Bullet points, charts, graphs. In those times, the easiest way to remember something was what? Poetry. That's why kids will go around learning all these Alfiyah of Malik and Alfiyah of Iraqi, and they will know it when they grow up. That's how they will learn. And they will know all the poems of these books. Because they were very short and concise poems which would explain the whole science. We don't learn that way. We rather use things in charts and graphs, and that's how that's how our culture is. The English culture, I don't think. That's why, for example, if you look at some of the Urdu books, like I think Ilm Sarf and all that, they have a few like the masdars which I put in a poem. But I find it quite difficult because we're not used to poems, and trying to learn that poem was even more difficult actually making our own code. You have our own code to remember something. So because that's how our brains are being trained. I'm not saying it's a good way or bad way, it's different. So in those times they have a very short matan. That's the way, very short and brief. That's why you have in a lot of science you have one core textbook, and from there you have lots of commentaries on it because you focus on the matan, and then you learn the matan and you memorize or you process the shara. Do you understand? That's why, for example, some people prefer talkhis because it's more brief. Even that's not that brief. You have like different mutun in nahu and balagha, but not that many. You get a short matan, and you all this stuff that I'm teaching you will be the side notes. And all you have to remember is like 2-3 words, and that 2-3 words have all the meaning that on the side. But you remember those 2-3 things, or that 5 sentences. You get what I'm saying? For example, you could summarize. For example, if you look at summarize so many, you've got so many texts here. He can just summarize this in about 4 or 5 sentences. You learn those 4 or 5 sentences and all the sharais, but you keep to your memory, and you memorize these words. So tasheel al-hifz, to memorize. But taqreeb al-fahm, make it easy to understand. Diq al-maqam, you don't want to speak. The maqam is very inappropriate to expand. Ikhfa, you want to keep things hidden. Sa'amatul muhadatha, you're tired of talking. You just want to make it brief. وَمِن دَوَاءِ الْإِطْنَابِ, why would you make it long? تَثْبِيتُ الْمَعْنَى, to ensure that the meaning and the idea you have is expressed properly and correctly without any misunderstanding. تَوْضِيحُ الْمُرَادِ, to make sure that what you're saying is very clear, there's no ambiguity left. Tawqeed, to emphasize, to reiterate. Daf'ul iham, to remove any ambiguity, any misconceptions. So there's different reasons for ijaz and itnab. And as I said, that's why isn't balagha is what mutabaqatul hal, mutabaqatul kalam li muqtada hal. So whatever scenario you have there and then, you analyze, and according to that you bring your kalam. Okay? Got it? Any questions? Subhanallah bihamdi subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.